Hi, this is Joe Murray, creator of Rocco's Modern Life and Camp Lazlo. You're watching In Conversation with Amber Jones.
Hello, everybody. Amber here. Welcome back to In Conversation with ATF. Now, this is going to be a softly spoken interview because right now it is about 9 o'clock in the morning in the UK and it is 10 a.m. in Belgium, which is where my guest is broadcasting live. Well, not broadcasting live, this is pre recorded, but as of right now, it's live. My guest is the creator of Rocco's Modern Life, Camp Lazlo, and Let's Go Luna. And he was also the voice of Ralph slash Rachel Bighead in the show as well. And he is just wow. Is it possible to fall in love with someone's voice? It's just so softly spoken, like compared to the other guests I've had on, like Charlie Adler, all up here and stuff like that. I guess
How
it's
can
like
you fall in
rare.
love with my voice when you have Charlie Adler and all these other great people? But I think I have
Well,
a very mundane voice, I think. But
yeah. Well, my guest is Joe Murray. Hi, Joe. How are you doing this
hello,
morning?
hello. I'm good. I'm good.
Good, good.
Happy to talk with you.
Yeah. How was it in Belgium? Because I believe you live on a farm?
Yes, we live in
Oh
a
wow.
farm in
Wow.
rural Belgium. Yeah, in a place called Neerwinden.
That's
Small
beautiful.
little village where everybody's related to each other. Don't know how that happened.
Ooh.
But
Hmm.
yes, but it's a 250-year-old house farm. Yeah, and we have goats and chickens and ponies and uh, yeah, fruit trees,
That's
garden.
awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's really great. It's really great. I love it. And yeah, so my day starts out feeding all the animals, and then I come into my
Wow.
studio and I work. And yeah,
That's awesome. That
a
is
little
that is
different
awesome.
from LA.
Oh yeah, definitely,
The
definitely.
traffic jam for us is getting stuck behind a slow tractor.
Oh yeah,
That's all.
same here, definitely. When I was in LA, I was like getting stuck between all these vehicles. I'm like, this never happens in the UK at all.
Mm.
Um, I was going to go in order for this interview, as in question wise, chronologically, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to start out a bit differently. I'd like to ask, what inspired you? What's the story behind you moving from the west coast of America to Belgium?
Yeah, well, it my wife is Belgian, and
Hmm.
she we met in America in Los Angeles. She was a school teacher in Pasadena,
Hmm.
and yeah, so we got married, and we had two kids. Excuse me. Um, and then we started kicking around as things started getting crazier and crazier in America, and our kids were getting to where they needed to go to school and such, and we were and Aleda's parents were getting older here in Belgium, and we said, "How about let's kick around, and move in there?" So I looked into it. I was working on Let's Go Luna, the PBS show, so I called everybody and said, would it be okay if I worked remotely from Belgium?" And they said, "Yeah, sure." So it all worked out. Yeah, so we moved everybody out, and including the cats, and yeah, and then we found this farm that had stables, lots of stables, lots of barns, and so we built a house for the parents, for Aleda's parents, and so they live here with us, which is really great. And the kids are going to school here, and they really love it. And although they grumble at times, as kids do. Yeah, and then we started buying animals, getting animals. Some were rescue animals. Um, yeah, so that's how we ended up here, and I love it. So
That's awesome.
yeah, I mean,
I'd
I
love a
always
life like that.
the challenges of living in a new country.
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to move to well, we've had thoughts of moving to like France or Spain or stuff like that, but just like in this current climate, it's a long story, but it's just not
Yeah,
possible. But it would be lovely. I mean, I've been to a few places in Europe. Well, when I say a few places, I mean just one. I've been to Spain. It's beautiful.
Spain is beautiful. I love Spain.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah,
Um,
whenever we want to get some sun, we go to Spain
oh
or
wow. Yeah, Madrid is like my ideal place. It's the only place I've been to, and it's gorgeous. I love it.
Yeah, you
Um,
can. I think the
so
people here take it for granted that it's so beautiful here, though. I
yeah,
think they don't realize, just a trip
hmm
into town. It's just beautiful
yeah,
architecture and the green fields and the
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
definitely. I need to get out to Belgium someday, definitely.
Yes, for sure.
Hmm I
Even
yeah.
outside of Brussels.
Yes, yes, yes. Outside of any of the capital cities, like just in any sort of country, it's just like
Yeah,
that's where all the
Brussels is
hidden
just a
gems are.
small part of Belgium. Yeah.
That's so awesome. Wow. Um, so Joe, I want to know now, because you've got children, have you introduced them to your shows? Have you introduced them to Rocco, Lazlo, Luna? You know,
Yes.
good, good. And what did they think of
Lewis,
the shows?
my oldest, who's 12 now. He just turned 12. He's a huge animation fan, and
Oh, good.
he watched the Rocco special for Netflix, and he loved it, and yeah, he likes Lazlo, and yeah, they're both yeah. But he also goes on the internet, and he says, Papa, why is there so much that said that Rocco was inappropriate for kids? Why is that? Well,
Let's give it 10 years.
what did you do? Explain these things. But my daughters, in a previous marriage, who are now in their 20s,
Mhm,
didn't like Rocco, but they grew up during Lazlo, so they liked Lazlo. They would help me because I would bring work home and I would watch episodes to do spotting notes for sound and music and whatnot.
mhm.
And they would watch the episodes and they go, "This is not very funny." And I said, "Yeah, it will be. It will be. Just be patient. Yeah, yeah."
Just trust the
It's hard for
process.
kids
Trust
to
the
see
process.
also things that don't have any sound and don't have any music, and it's a rough cut, like
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. Just trust the process. I guess that.
But Lewis is also he's an advisor in my independent films too.
Oh, cool.
I bring him in. I said, take a look at this. What do you think of this? I don't know. I think it could be better there. When I'm like, oh
That's so cool. Now,
yeah,
here's a bit of a unique question. Now, when Lewis watched Static Cling, um, because you've provided the voice of Rachel in it. Like,
hmm.
did Lewis instantly click on that it was you, or was
Oh
he
yeah,
aware that you voiced Ralph, Rachel?
oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
did
yeah.
it? It did. Okay,
He had seen other episodes with Ralph in them, so he knew that I did a voice.
that's so
And
cool.
you can
Yeah,
you can't miss
it
your
happens.
dad's
It's just my
voice.
dad.
Yeah,
That's so sweet, honestly. I love that. I love that so much.
yeah.
Now I'm gonna take it way back to the very beginning.
Oh yeah.
Growing up, what did you, as a child in the 60s, what specific cartoons did you grow up watching, that may have sort of inspired your shows, or mainly just what did you grow up? What shows did you grow up watching, whether it be live
Yeah,
action or
well,
animated?
when we criticize screen time for kids, then I realize that we would get up on Saturday mornings at 6 in the morning and watch cartoons till noon.
Hmm
But granted, that was usually just one day a week, but which is very different. But yeah, so Looney Tunes was a big influence. Chuck Jones, yeah, Tex Avery, Fritz Freeling, all those greats were huge, and I still steal timing and gags from them. Um, I love Jay Ward. I love the Bullwinkles, and that was really strong. And Fractured Fairy Tales, I love that. Um, yeah, so those were really my biggies. I feel, and I feel like when Bullwinkle, I love that show.
This is a cell that my friend got for my birthday.
Oh,
I
that's
also
awesome.
I have a good few Rocky and Bullwinkle things. I actually am. I produced a documentary on Bullwinkle's voice actor Bill Scott, and I became really close friends with his family. So on my wall, I do have a few cells that he actually used to own. They used to hang in his office, and his son just
Wow.
gifted them to me. So one of them
Oh,
is a Bullwinkle. I wish I could get them off the wall, but they're sort of like sticky tacked to the wall, but so they don't like sort of like fall forward. Um,
yeah.
but I'm more than happy to send you photos. I think both of them are they were designed by Lou Keller. And yeah, the Bullwinkle one was the one I got first. So he's in like a little waistcoat and he's got like a hat. And then the Dudley one, Dudley Do Right, is him
A deadly
looking
do.
backwards on horse. And they were, I'm presuming they were done for the Asifa cell sales in the 80s, 70s. You know, because they usually sold a lot of different cells of that. But I mean, that one that I just showed you, that is Rocking Bullwinkle, but the background is from one of the J Ward commercials. So like the King Vitamin, Quaker Road stuff that they did. Um, but that would have been sold at an Asifa cell sale. I do have on my phone though the pictures or a picture of the cells, if that helps. So this is the Dudley one. Can't
Awesome.
really see it because of the
I
reflection.
love that horse. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah, yeah.
And then the Bullwinkle one actually was the first thing I got me. Well, that was the first thing John, Bill's son, got me. Let's have a look where it is. It was near the end of my trip. Yes, I've just found it. Here it is. And there's that. No. Yeah, that is. I took it. I took the picture at the hotel when we had just gotten to the hotel. There you go.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, so,
that's
so
great.
that's a
Yeah,
so
we
there
we
are all my
directly
photos.
we in a Rocco episode with I think it was called Emperor's New Joe. We
Hmm.
did a direct takeoff of a J Ward where one of the Chameleon brothers is telling the story and he's used the voice, and it was a total J Ward like fractured fairy tales kind of a thing.
That's awesome. That's
Really
awesome. I
fun.
never knew you grew. I never. I'm just so. I'm humbled now. Whenever someone says, "Oh yeah, I grew up with a rocking ball, Uncle J Ward," I'm just like,
Yeah,
I'm
how
so
lucky was
humbled.
I to be able to just turn on the TV in the morning and see Jay Ward cartoons. I mean, that was incredible. And
Yeah.
and but the thing about Looney Tunes was interesting because the ones we were watching
Hmm.
were theatrical and they were not really meant for kids. They were meant to be in front
Yeah.
of movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
These
I
are the.
kind of so some of it was a little iffy. I mean, really, when you think about it, we drew. I mean, we watched uh, Elmer Fudd with a shotgun blowing off Daffy Duck's head, and
Yeah.
it was not a big
Bugs
deal.
Bunny doing an impression of him, then it turned into Big Chungus, then it became a
Yeah,
whole
some
thing
of it was a
online.
little racy. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, went all crazy, But yeah, that
But that
was
was
honestly,
really, yeah, it was really where, yeah, really, really fine tuned. So the situation was though, when I got into television, to think that I could pull off some of that in a production, in
hmm.
a volume production.
Hmm.
But I tried. That's why I went a little bonkers with it. But
And you succeeded. And Rocco
sometimes,
became successful.
sometimes. I
Yeah.
think it's really smart, like Craig McCracken and Genny Tartakovsky, to
Yeah.
implement the to in a design sense to really embrace the limited animation that TV brought about, to really be one with it. And I mean, their stuff is fantastic. So I was kind of like, oh, well, because originally when I was talking to Nickelodeon about doing the show, because they said, oh, just do what you want for independent with your independent film, and I hand drew all my episodes. So I mean, all my films.
Yeah.
I assembled a crew and thought, oh, we'll just animate all the episodes ourselves for television,
I think that's so
which
cool.
is what John Kay tried to do, but proved to be a little challenging.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
we had a Korean studio.
Ooh,
I worked
yeah.
really closely with them, and we had two supervisors there, which is unheard of these days. But
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much.
yeah.
I want to know the casting process for Rocco. Now, of course, a lot of the cast members, it was really their first time doing voiceover. So Carlos Alazraki, Tom Kenny, it was their first ever voiceover gig. I'm not
Like
sure about
Lawrence.
Doug Lawrence. I know that
Mhm.
wasn't Charlie Adler's first time doing
No,
voiceover.
he was the
No.
only veteran there.
Wow.
Yeah, and all
Wow.
the other voice actors were in awe, like following him. Charlie, what should we
Ah,
do now, Charlie?
what are the big heads gonna do?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he was like,
That's so funny.
and sometimes
That's
he would
so
get
funny.
disgruntled that it was going too slow because Tom and Carlos and Doug were always riffing off each other. They just had we had so much fun. I actually directed in the booth in the room with them. We had a big huge room actually with everybody had microphones, and I would do things ensemble, but I was in there too.
That's awesome.
And so Tom, of course, being Tom, would just go off on these things, and Carlos would start riffing with him and Doug, and then Charlie goes, "I've got somewhere to go." Really, I have another. Can we move this along? Come on, come on, come on, come on.
So, were you the main voice director for Rocco's Modern Life?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So it was you, all you. Okay, awesome.
Until
Um,
the last season, Steve took over. Steve Hillenberg. He
right.
yeah.
That's that's really cool. That is really cool. But the casting process, obviously, how did you find essentially Carlos, Tom, and Charlie and Doug? I know Charlie, obviously, as I said, he was a veteran, but then these other guys, they'd done it for the first time. Were you involved in
Yeah.
the casting process, or were you just sort of like on the
No,
sideline?
I did all of it. I was a crazy control freak. Carlos, I found in San Francisco because we
Mm-hmm.
did the pilot in San Jose,
That's
Saratoga,
cool.
actually, which
Mm-hmm.
is just south of San Francisco. So um, I had a producer there. We were working to try and find a voice for Rocco and Spunky, and so we had a casting call, but there were no like cartoon voice actors in San Francisco. And they would all come in and they were like voiceover, like they did commercials and stuff. And they
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Spunky, Spunky, what are you doing with that schmoot in your mouth? Okay, next. Thank you very much. So I had gone out. Somebody had mentioned you should take a look at some stand-up comics, and I was like, "Yeah, that's a great idea." Because I also wanted some improv,
Yeah.
maybe in the voices and stuff. And it's like I'm not getting anything from voiceover actors. And then I was also getting calls from like um, Don Adams. Do you know Don Adams, who did
Yes, I do. Yes.
Tennessee Tuxedo? He would call. I should have saved that voicemail because this is Don Adams, the voice of Tennessee Tuxedo. I hear you're casting for. And then Lucille Bliss called me.
Oh, Lucille,
Hello, this
yes.
is voice legend Lucia Bliss. She called herself voice legend. Anyway,
That's
I said, I
awesome.
don't want any of this old school. Although I respect them so much, but I don't want any old school stuff. So anyway, so I saw Carlos in a stand-up act, and then I went in act afterwards. I said, how would you feel about auditioning for this show? And so yeah, he came in. It was his first time auditioning, and not, and I was not used to doing it either. But yeah, he started doing Rocco, and I said, that's Rocco. And then he did Spunky, like that's Spunky. Like it was so amazing.
In
So
double duty.
yeah, that was really cool. So we only had Spunky and Rocco in the pilot, so he did both. We recorded him, and he did a great job. And then so he moved down to LA when the show got picked up. He actually flew down a few times for the first few recordings and would stay at my house. And then I would drive him to the studio. But so Tom Kenny was somebody had mentioned. So I kind of did the same thing where I was like, I want to see what the stand-up community is like around here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I started looking at stand-up comics, and
Mm-hmm.
And I went to it was actually a Bobcat Goldthwait show, and he had him and Tom are good friends. And so he had Tom open, and I just fell in love with his timing and his voices. And so I brought him in to read for a few parts, and Heifer, he just nailed. And of course, his comedy is just so amazing. So he became for us. He was also a go-to actor for any other voice that you needed. He would do, and then I worked with him again on Lazlo. He was Lumpus and Slingman. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, and then Doug Lawrence is kind of a famous story.
Ooh. Just around, just like, yeah, just like tell me all the deeds.
No, he Filbert at first was just a secondary character. He was kind of a background character. I think his first appearance was in a supermarket episode where he played a cashier, and so we were needing a voice, and Doug Lawrence was one of the directors at the time. He may have been a storyboard artist, but I moved him up to director. um and some of the assistants there had put together some auditions on tape, and they gave me a big box of tapes,
Hmm.
cassette tapes, and
Hmm.
Doug Lawrence snuck his in there
Ooh.
and didn't say he had he had a phone number on there or something. I didn't know it was Doug. Anyway, somehow he so I went through all the tapes, and I came
Hmm.
across this one, and I said, "Oh my God, that's Filbert." And who is this guy? And I think one of the assistants, she knew. She knew it was Doug, and that's Doug Lawrence. Like, oh my God, you're kidding. So so ironically enough, Filbert started becoming a bigger character a lot because Doug would put him in his episodes, because the directors had a lot of freedom. They would take the story that we would give them, which is usually just an outline, and they could flesh it out really any way that they wanted to. And so he started bringing in Filbert a lot, and I loved it. I thought it was working. I thought the trio of them turned into a really great chemistry. So it was like, so that was Doug, and then Doug was also one of the actors on Camp Lazlo. So I had
Yeah.
Carlos, who was Lazlo, and Tom and Doug together at the same time.
I love you,
Also
I'm back.
Lazlo. I couldn't find something for Charlie. It didn't seem like it was working out for what we needed, but
Hmm.
yeah.
I see. How did you get him on Rocco though? Or was it just a general casting
Charlie.
audition
Yeah,
that you put out?
so it's funny because we started needing somebody for the Bighead. So we did a casting call, and they had a sound booth at Ren and Stimpy. It was after
Hmm.
they had taken the show from John Kay, and they were in some office building, and they had built a sound booth where they did some recording. So we said, let's use that, and we'll do a casting call. And a lot of famous people came through, uh, doing voices, and nothing was working. There's a funny story. Lorraine Newman, who was on Saturday Night Live in the States, she was on the original Saturday Night Live. She was very
Hmm.
accomplished, and she did this skit where I think she was playing the Exorcist. She was playing Linda Blair, and her voice starts going rah, 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 rah. And that's kind of the voice I wanted for the Bigheads, right? Rah, rah, for Bev Bighead. And I said, can you do that voice you did in that skit? And she goes, that was Chevy Chase. She was like really annoyed with me, and
Wow.
I should have known, but but needless to say, Charlie came in, and he did both. Like, he started doing Bev, and then he did, big, and he just nailed it. And so yeah, He but he was, it was so funny, yeah, because he was a already a veteran and
Yeah,
knew his stuff. And so the guys were always asking him advice.
that's so sweet. That is so
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah,
I love that. That is
yeah,
awesome. Bless. Oh wow. So when did you sort of realize Rocco had become a big hit for Nickelodeon? Was it during the show's run or was it after the original show had ended and it had entered the rerun circuit?
yeah. Um, I'm
Did you
not
expect it to be
sure.
big?
You know, they expected it to be big. I didn't know what was going to happen. I never really thought it was ever going to get picked up because it was very different from what was on television at the time until Ren and Stimpy came out. Then I thought maybe I had a chance because they could see, I could see that Nickelodeon was taking chances, and they were really risking a lot, but
Yeah.
they were new channels, so they could say, you know, what do we have to lose? And so they made it a big splash with Ren and Stimpy and Rugrats and Doug, and they became noticed. So my show was the next one out of the gate. So they kind of put a lot of, they really promoted it big, and we had all this licensing already set up, which is really not good because, you know, if nobody knows the show, they don't. But yeah, we had this big, huge thing of toys and all this stuff, and there was a lot of expectations. And yeah, so the show came out, and it was big. It broke out pretty quickly, big, but then it started kind of subsiding, and yeah, it's funny because they would separate the cable ratings from the regular broadcast rating,
Hmm.
and we were always second, and first was big time wrestling. So
Ooh.
we gotta get out that big time wrestling.
Fight to the death.
I used to laugh at that every
Them
week.
in the
Oh,
ring.
big time wrestling, they beat us again.
Rocco
So
in the ring.
yeah,
Who knows?
yeah. So anyway, but I was having some difficulties with Nickelodeon
Hmm.
and some of the executives that were directly in charge over me, and we started kind of butting heads, and Nickelodeon started becoming a bigger and bigger company, and the advertisers started kind of getting involved and saying, we don't like that this show does that.
Yeah.
So they kind of started to try and put a tighter uh, jacket on me to kind of bring me in, and
Hmm.
I rebelled against it. And then they moved my time slot,
Oh,
and and then the ratings started going down
oh.
a bit, and
I was
then
gonna ask if that was good or bad.
yeah, it
Turns
was
out
not good,
bad.
and
No.
no, nobody liked the new time slot. It was too late, and so they kind of started painting the picture that Rocco has failed. Like, screw this. I'm not. I can't do this anymore. This is
Yeah.
crazy. I'm not going to keep fighting
Mm.
with you guys. So we stopped, and I said I've had enough, and they say we've had enough too. So it ended. So then I kind of walked away from it, thinking, okay, it was failed. It was a failed experiment because it was kind of made for kids to watch with their parents in some ways. But we only really wanted to make ourselves laugh. We didn't really think about the audience so much. We were like, we want this to be funny. We want to be proud of what it is and not like mindless kids TV where you don't think that kids have any intelligence, because that's what a lot of it was.
Yeah.
And so then time went by, and I just I kind of retired. I started having kids and just traveling and stuff, and then slowly the internet started coming in, and then I started getting uh, from the internet that things were going on with Rocco, and I'm like, what? People know what Rocco, and the SpongeBob had started to become big, and
Yeah.
I would say to people who worked on it, because a lot of Rocco people worked on it with
Yeah.
Steve,
Stephen
and I
and
said, isn't it
everything.
nice to have a
Yeah.
show that somebody's actually heard of? This is at the beginning when it was just starting to get going. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was an exciting time too. Steve was like, I don't know what's happening. It's starting to take off. It's pretty cool. Um, but Rocco is just like the bastard stepchild who never locked away in the closet and nobody knew what it was, right? And but then the internet started pulling it out, like saying, "Hey, I really love that show," and it started getting a resurgence, and then YouTube started picking up clips, and you know, and then I started doing Camp Lazlo. But by then, Rocco really started, and my royalty checks started going up, and merchandise started coming out again, which
Ray. Yeah.
is very strange. And yeah, it was weird. And so when I finally did the special for Netflix, it was really it's still doing well
That's
and
good.
streaming and such, and there's a big awareness of it out there, and it's funny because like Carlos Alazraqui would do Comic Cons before, and he wouldn't even mention Rocco. He would say he was the voice of the Taco Bell Chihuahua, and which he was. It bought him a house.
Yeah.
but but now I notice that Rocco is like the big forefront on his posters. Carlos Alazraqui, the voice, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess maybe we hit a chord, but maybe it took time for people to really understand it and get around it. And now that people are adults that grew up with it are relating to a lot of it. Well, that was started happening before because people would get to college age and started understanding some of the jokes and what we were trying to do. So that's the
Awesome.
history.
Yeah.
And that was my version of it.
Now, Rocco didn't really have a lot of guest stars, if I'm being honest, because I'm looking at the cast on IMDb. It's like, including Maine, there was like 21. So, I mean, for the people I know, Richard Simmons was in it and Billy West was in it. It says E.G. Daily was in it as well. What was it like just voice directing all of these people and just essentially you were allowed to tell them how to do things, how to sort of perform them and stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, Richard Simmons um, was a fun one because he didn't really want to be directed because
Ooh, okay.
he says, you know, we brought him in to be Richard Simmons, but
Yeah.
but he wasn't Richard Simmons in the show. He was a aerobics instructor.
Yeah.
So I was kind of giving him direction on how I saw the lines coming out, and he started getting really annoyed with me and calling me Cecil B. DeMille.
Mm.
He would say, "Oh, look at me! He's directing me. Oh, he's Miss. I'll just call you Mister Cecil B. DeMille." And yeah, and he also called me Mister Perfect Teeth because maybe
Hmm.
then I had good teeth. But um, so him and I didn't get along so well, and I wasn't really big on bringing in people outside my posse. You know,
Your comfort circle. Yeah.
we always tried to. I wasn't into the name thing of guest stars, and it was funny. There's a we in the episode with the lounge singer. The lounge singer, Felbert, becomes a lounge singer.
Hmm.
So we wanted to have a different voice um, for the lounge singer, and so we wanted to really have a lounge singer, and we found this guy um, who he was kind of famous singer,
Hmm.
and I had never heard him before, but everybody said, "Oh yeah, you got." Oh, no, no. I'm not going to say who it is, but um, so he came in and he starts singing the songs, and they're awful. They're awful. I am like, and I go back in because I was sitting in the room with them all, and I go into
Hmm.
the control room, which they can't hear the people, and I said, "This guy is not gonna, it's not gonna work. He's supposed to be some really good, Filbert's supposed to be a really great lounge singer. This guy sucks." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, okay." I go, "All right, so let's just finish him singing the song. Don't do any take twos. Just get him out of here, and let's try Tom Kenny." And so we did. He got done. "Thank you very much.
Tom
Thank you for
nailed it.
coming. Here, sign these papers. Thank you." And then I said, "Tom, you need to be a lounge singer." Okay. And he nailed it. He he wasn't prepared for it. And he starts doing a lounge singer that is so fantastic. And it's like, okay, and so we used it. We used his takes. And so it's like, I've got a crew of people here between Charlie and Tom and Carlos and Doug that I don't need any outside people really. That we can find a solution to anything. But
Yeah.
we also had Linda Wallem when we came in for Dr. Hutchinson. Linda Wallem came in, who was fantastic. And but she wasn't really a voice actor. She was a producer, I think, as she still is, I think.
It's like you want
Uh,
some natural voices, if that
yeah,
makes
yeah, yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think except for Charlie, I don't think any of my voice actors had previous voice acting.
And I love that. I love that. I love that, definitely. I mean, one of my personal favorite episodes is the one where they Filbert and Paula the egg with the egg, and like they're
Yeah.
trying to get it to hatch, and because like and the egg hatches and they're like the four little babies, two of them look like Filbert, one looks like Paula, and then one just looks like Heifer. Is because Heifer was like one of them who just sat on the egg. I'm thinking if Rocco did, then they just have like four little doppelgangers of each other.
Well, yeah.
I just love that. That's
Well, it's
so
like when
funny.
and then they grew up to be in the last episode,
Yes,
Future
yes.
Shock.
Future shock.
Yeah.
Yes. The Rocco went to space and never came back. The end. Yeah, but real quick before we talk about Future Shock, Ralph Bighead.
Hmm.
Now I've heard through the grapevine that apparently you were sort of cast as Ralph, essentially because people who worked on the show, they never heard you shout. I mean, I'm listening to you right now. You have such a calm voice. Like, apparently, they just wanted to hear what it was like for you to shout or get
Who told you
angry.
that?
Facebook.
Where'd you read that?
Facebook. Someone put it on Facebook. I can't remember who.
Ah, okay. I don't know about that story, but well, no. So we wrote. I actually wrote that story.
Really? Which
I,
one?
th-
I have
I
no son.
I have no son.
Yeah.
I think with Martin Wilson. I think the two of us
Mm-hmm.
wrote it, and it was a little autobiographical, I have to say. And I was going through problems with the network and stuff, and I really didn't want to do anymore. But so it was a little bit like that. And I did have problems with my father,
Mm-hmm.
not wanting me. He didn't want me to be an artist.
Yeah.
He wanted me to work in computers. Um, so there was some of it there, yeah. So then we started talking about who's going to do the voice of Ralph, and I started thinking about outside voices, and they make us, you should do it. And I was like, no, no, I'm not going to do it. No, 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 you do it. And so Doug Lawrence was really like, no, you got to do it. And Steve Hellenberg was one of the directors of those episodes. He says, you really need to do it. So that's it. And I had never had any voice experience
No.
either. Is that how the segue happened? Going into um yeah, so it was a little cathartic recording that
Mm-hmm.
because yeah, I yelled a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my kids like to play that clip. Never, never, never. Yeah,
That's so awesome. That's
they
so
like
funny.
that. Yeah. So when it came to when we wrote Static Cling for the Netflix special, I said, well, I'm going to do the voice, but we also wanted to. There's a whole story behind the how we ended up
The
being able
transition.
to do the transition story, um, because it was a kind of a battle. But one of the agreements that we made was that we were going to get GLAAD involved, which is a media advocacy group for transgender people, LBGQ.
Yep. The does it say here?
Um,
The Gay and Lesbian
Community.
Alliance Against Defamation.
Yeah, yeah. Which we said fine. So we wanted to have their blessing in how we did it, and we did. The only thing was is that they didn't like me doing the voice of Rachel, and they wanted me to hire someone to do it, and so that was it. I said no, it's Rachel, it's Ralph transitioning to Rachel, and I want to keep the voice.
Yeah, because some people do keep their voice after the transition because I have a few transgender friends who have the same voice, post transition. It's different for everybody,
Yeah,
essentially.
sometimes the hormones will pitch it up a bit. Um, we did research.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And that's
so I
okay.
found it that it
That's
was
okay.
okay. It was appropriate. It was all right.
Yeah,
So yeah. So I'm Rachel as well.
that's awesome. That is really
Yeah.
awesome. Going back to your shouty lines from the original. um, would you say this is, I don't know, just I'm gonna ask this the best way I can. Do you usually see yourself yelling in real life, or is that really the only place where people could just see you yell? Like your kids, you're like they never hear you yell in real life. If they just want to hear you yell, they just go to that never clip.
If I ever yell, it's out of comedic dad
Fair
moments,
enough.
with the
Fair
boys.
enough.
They start laughing. But yeah, I mean there've obviously been moments, but not so much.
Fair
But
enough.
it's funny though, the line in I Have No Son where he goes, "Whose show is it?" I used to actually say that in
Really?
but in kind of a joking way, but half joking, half not joking. Whose show is it? Uh, your show?
That's so which actually brings me to a really unique question. Now I usually ask this to people who are voice directors but have also voiced in a show that they've voice directed. Um,
Yeah,
so how does it sort of go about if you're directing the whole cast, but then you're voicing Ralph, Rachel?
yeah,
Um, who directs you, or do you direct yourself? And then you decide, yeah, that's a good take.
yeah. The people in the booth,
Oh,
I
okay.
usually ask for feedback.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah, because it comes through differently. Because I have headphones, so I know how it's coming through. But I usually know. I can usually tell myself whether I nailed it or not. I'm a little. We did a lot of takes, so I was a little hard on myself. But
We all are sometimes.
you know what's a funny story is
Oh, yeah.
the belching episode. Have you heard that story with
I
do
haven't,
you know the
no.
belch
I
where
mean,
a heifer?
if I'm going to be honest with you, I've not seen every episode. I'm slowly making my way through the
Well, okay,
series.
goodbye.
Nah, nah, nah. It's all right.
Ah,
Tell me all. Mr. Murray.
maybe someone who's watching this show may have seen the episodes. We don't
Of
know.
course, yeah. I recommend
Maybe
them.
so. Yeah, so we had an episode called The Belch of Destiny, where Heifer and Filbert are in the Scouts version of O-Town Scout version of the Scouts, the Boy Scouts. I forget what we called it. But anyway, they were Heifer was the worst in the Scouts, and every time he tried to do something, he would burn everybody up or something to earn a badge. And so he was going to be in a talent contest, and he was going to be really good. I forget how we wrote it, but it was in Belgium. So Steve Hillenberg comes to me. He was directing the episode. Him and Mark O'Hare. They were like our dream team, those two. Not to take anything away from the other directors because they were all great also. But so Steve plays. He says, we want a Heifer to Belch Talk, and that's his talent for the talent show. And like, oh my God, you're kidding me. And then they played this tape of this guy Belch talking some lines from the show. And then it was hysterical. I was like laughing. I couldn't see it before, but Steve was prepared. He came with this tape of this guy. And I said, okay. So he starts doing Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver. Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? And so I said, okay, well, can we get this guy? And he goes, yeah, but he was a big time producer at Warner Brothers.
Oh, awesome.
He doesn't want to be credited because he doesn't want to be known. He's like, as a Belch talker. Like, okay, so we'll bring him in secretly as a Belch talker. And so anyway, he comes in. So we wrote the episode as him as a Belch talker. It turned out pretty funny. And then we bring this guy in. And he has performance anxiety. He's having trouble Belch talking. So we get on the phone and we order we got to get some cans of Coca-Cola in here. We got to get some and then we ordered a big, we need a big, he says, spaghetti. Yeah, spaghetti. Get some spaghetti in here. We need some spaghetti. So we're recording all the other lines at the same time, and he's in the corner. He's like just shoveling it in. And he's like sitting there and he's like Jabba the Hutt. And we go, okay, you ready? Okay, come on up. Come on. And he goes to make fun. He's like, sorry, that's it. Come on, you got to Belch on demand. Come on, this is
good enough.
Show business. This is show business. So he goes, well, why don't you send some recording equipment home with me, and I'll do it at home. So that's how we did it. So he took a bunch of equipment home, and he set it up, and he did the lines. So the lines that you hear in the show are him at home. I don't know where, but
that's really cool. It was
fun because
that's a funny story.
I thought it was a funny story.
I'm definitely gonna watch that.
But it's better if you had seen the episode.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I actually did watch the.
I'll yell at you. Yeah.
I actually did watch Nothing to Sneeze at last night. So it is sort of like the episode after that in chronological order. I was so close to it. It was the episode next to the Belgian episode. But it's the one where Bev gets a new nose. He just says Ed smells so bad. It's just, wow. It's just so good. And just the one where the episode where Bev invites Rocco round to her house to do chores, and then she ends up trying to sort of seduce him. Whose idea was all the sort of like the little double entendre stuff in the show, or was it just a combined idea, sort of came from different writers and stuff like that, like the sort of the adult content in the show?
Well, I'm trying to figure out how to put this. We had done some stuff early on That was Rocco stuck in ladies' cleavage, and stuff like that.
Yeah, Gloria.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, um,
Hmm.
that was a little edgy, but Ren and Stimpy was starting to really break out big, and
Yeah.
so the producers, these two women,
Hmm.
uh, kind of thought it executives, and I'm not, I love these two women, don't, but they kind of executives in cartoons and any entertainment always seem to try and put something in a bottle, a formula into a bottle.
Yeah.
Well, this must mean that, so if we do this, then we'll get to. So they thought, let's be really edgy. So um, they encouraged it, the executives. In fact, one executive said, "Could Rocco be stuck up her butt crack?" And I said, I would rather Rocco not be stuck up this woman's butt crack. I really would rather. I can't believe I'm having this conversation with
Someone's
an
fetish
executive,
of some
but
kind, I
yes,
swear.
yeah. Um, but they thought it was great, and they thought it was, so this one writer of ours wrote this one, and they're giggling through it. Like, oh,
I can tell. These the 90s are so unhinged, that sort of
yeah, yeah.
renaissance of
They're like going, oh.
the
Yeah, like
renaissance of
they're like
what?
Jennifer Coolidge, oh.
The
So
renaissance
yeah, yeah.
the
So
renaissance of cartoon animation in that 90s period with all those
in the
Nickelodeon
90s,
shows.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the thing though, but it was like the higher ups in Nickelodeon and the people in the advertising departments didn't know that this was going on, or the executives are kind of, you know,
That's so
encouraging it.
funny. I love that.
So we just went with it. If we thought something was funny, we did it. And there were sexual innuendos, yeah, or the Rocco going berry picking with the bear, and is always played as one of the inappropriate moments.
Yeah. Hmm.
So yeah, so that was turned out to be. Uh, I think that episode got banned later on, if I'm
Ooh.
not mistaken. At some point, it was taken off of Nickelodeon, but I think it's available. I don't know. I'm actually not sure whether it was included in the collections or whether it's available. It was called was it Leapfrog?
Leapfrog, yeah, I think that
Yeah.
that could have been the episode you're on about. Try and read that there.
Yeah, but it's still played. People still have access to it somehow. I don't know how, but
Yeah, I think it's like on these like cartoon streaming sites and stuff like that, like I don't know what they're called, but just like sort of ones where you get like
yeah,
cartoons and stuff, but they have all like pop-up adverts all over them. So they're not the best things to use because you're constantly just getting gambling and just
yeah. Can you
inappropriate.
can I ask you a question? Because the London Times did a review on
Yeah.
on Rocco, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, and they pulled out some of those episodes as being really
Uh-huh.
awesome. And so they said Rocco is fully paid up Barmy Army. What does that mean?
To be honest, I've never heard of that phrase until now. It did air in the UK on Nickelodeon and also Channel 4, early
Yeah,
morning
they loved it.
cartoons.
Channel 4, yeah. So it was getting big, huge ratings. And the London Times did. I still have that review because it was like
Really?
they were like so into it. They call it. It said acid surf colors with, and it's fully paid up Balmy Army. You need to go check this out. Yeah, it was really fun.
Barmy Army definition. It says something about supporters of a particular sports team who are known for their vo vocifer vociferous something support during
Ah,
matches. I
that's
don't,
weird.
no idea. Never heard of the term
Fully
before, and I don't
paid
think
up. I've never heard that either.
no
Fully
idea. I
paid up
don't know.
Army.
But
Anyway,
speaking of merch, over here we've had a have you heard of a brand called Loungefly?
no.
Okay, well they make like mini bags and different, like rucksacks and purses and stuff like that. They have a Nickelodeon range. And I'm not sure if you are aware, there is a Rocco's One Life bag that they have made. I'm trying to find it. I have found one for sale online with the matching purse as well. So I'm planning on getting it, but it's like, that's what it is.
Oh
So,
wow.
and
Oh,
the
so
TV screen.
that's the image that I did for the DVD.
Oh, that's
They had me
cool.
do the cover of.
And this is like a lenticular image. So when you move it, Rocco's hand like waves.
Oh, awesome! I would
I'm
want
gonna
one
have to get that. I'm tempted to get that now because it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And where's the wallet? The wallet has Rocco and Spunky on it, but it's like that. And you got Spunky on the back. And then inside, and it's also like this on the back. It's like a little like a lavender print with like all everyone Phil the big
That's really
heads,
cool.
heifer, yeah. And
Um,
just yeah.
Fila is what the brand, Fila. What is it?
Yeah, Fila, yeah.
Fila. They just
Hmm.
came out with a some really cool shoes and
Oh, yeah, just
some high
oh
end
they
exclusive, some high
awesome.
end stuff that they
Oh,
had
they
come
look
out.
awesome. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. Rocker
yeah.
shoes. Right, I'm tempted now. I'm probably gonna end up buying that Loungefly bag because I found it for a really good price, and it also has and on the listing it also has the purse as well. So I'm like, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it because I mean I've already got two Loungefly bags, but you can't have too many. Can't have too many. There's people out there who genuinely collect um Loungefly bags. I mean, I have one. It's like a Nickelodeon sort of like a lenticular TV, and it changes images no matter what where you look at it. So it's Rugrats, Cat Dog, and Our Real Monsters.
Mm.
Um, but it's just it's magical, honestly. And I had another one as well. Yeah, they have. Sorry, I just love the. I love the. I
Yeah,
was looking at the Rocco one. It's so
Peter Hannon and I were really good friends, and we're always sending each other texts. Oh, look at this cat dog thing I found, or look at and he would send something. Look at this girl is wearing. It's funny.
That's so
We go back
funny.
and forth. Yeah.
That's so funny. Is
Yeah,
there
it's
any?
fun. It's fun that it's still relevant and still some cool stuff.
Mhm. Is there
And
anyone?
I got some cred from my kids when they found a Rocco Funko Pop.
Oh yeah, they did the Funko Pop's Funko Lounge Flight. I think it's the same sort of company. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's
So
awesome.
there's a heifer one and a Rocco one. I think a spunky one.
They've done a few digital NFT ones, which I'm not really a fan of NFTs, but they've done the big heads as like little Funkos.
Oh,
But they're
really?
like,
Oh, I didn't see those.
yeah, but yeah, they're like the digital ones, like sort of like the NFT thing. So you've got to redeem them online, and then you get them sort of sent to your house. So they've got Rocco working out, and then they've got Ed Bighead
Oh,
stuff on the
wow.
phone.
I've never seen that one before.
It's because it's digital. Not
They have
many
a cool
people have
heifer
it.
one from Halloween where he has glow in the dark
Oh,
jack-o'-lantern.
that's awesome. I'm trying to see. Did they do a Bev Bighead one? I swear I saw a Bev Bighead one. A Bev Bighead Funko. That was also a digital one. Nope. They never did one. They never did. They did the yeah, I'm having a look. Yeah, that's all of them together.
Yeah, I
I wish
have the
they'd
heifer.
actually released the digital
I have the
ones.
heifer and the Rocco, but they have
That's
bigger ones
awesome.
too. I mean.
Yeah, they do.
I
Yeah,
don't
they
know.
have
Maybe. Unless
that's the chase version.
oh, when
The
he's got a
what's
cold.
yeah, so the
It looks
chase is
like his
like
nose is bleeding.
it does. It does. It's the chase edition. So when you get a chase Funko Pop, it's like a rare one, if that makes sense. It's like a limited edition with like a different design, if that makes sense. So like there's like a one in like you usually get the standard Rocco and Spunky Pop, but then like there's a 1 in 50 chance you could get the cold version, the one where he has a cold. They just don't tell
Well,
you.
thank you for everybody who buys those because you're keeping us in goat food, and that's really nice.
Yay! Yeah, I'm definitely
Goat
gonna
food.
I'm gonna buy
It's
that.
expensive to
Like
run a farm.
real quick, whose idea was it for Rocco to be stranded in space?
That was mine, actually.
And
Pretty
whose
sure
idea was it for him to come back for Static Cling?
that was mine.
Good. um, real quick, just want to divert real quick to Let's Go Luna. I'll definitely do another episode of you in the future when I've seen all of the episodes of Rocco
Yeah, Amber.
and when I've seen every
Why don't
episode
you
of
watch
Camp
the
Lazlo.
episodes?
I'm making my way through them as we speak. I'm hoping to get them all
Yeah.
done hopefully by the end of spring. What was it like sort of going from writing a cartoon for older kids to writing a preschool show?
Well, I didn't make the direct leap from Rocco to Luna. I
Well,
went.
no, you went
Lazlo
from
was in the middle,
Lazlo.
so
Yeah,
that was kind of a halfway point, I think, because we were a little reined in a little more, and I was reining myself in a little more. But I still like the episodes on Lazo. But Luna was something that I started feeling like I wanted to be called. I was really done with commercials. I really didn't like commercials. I had two young kids, and I was like, I'm tired of cartoons. My cartoons selling shoes and cereal, and so back then it was mostly just broadcasts. So I looked to PBS, and Linda Saminsky had gone over there, who was the executive who brought me into for. She's the one who brought me in for Rocco, and she's the one who brought me over to Cartoon Network. Um, so she was at PBS. So I gave her a call, and we talked, and I had a show that I wanted to do. Well, she had mentioned because they have kind of a curriculum, right?
yeah,
uh, for their shows. And are you familiar with PBS? It's a public
yes. I
broadcaster.
did
Yeah.
watch a little bit of it when I was in LA when in the
Oh yeah,
hotel.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
So you have to, you need to learn something while you're watching it. So it was just at the beginning of the Trump administration, and I said I want these kids to know that there's other cultures around the world. Not, Americans need to know that because it's getting a little crazy.
yeah.
So the show is about other cultures, and so I really wanted to do it. I wanted to, and I met with all the PBS people, and they were fantastic. And I said, I want to be here. And Linda totally championed it all through, and it was fun. And I brought Peter Hannon on as my
Nice.
editor, my head writer, and he was awesome, and we had a really good time. And he wrote a bunch of great songs for it, and we had a lower budget because PBS is a lower budget, obviously.
Yeah.
Uh, so I had kind of a smaller crew, and I ended up doing a lot more jobs than I usually did, which
Mm-hmm.
was fine because it was kind of reminded me how much I enjoy
Yeah.
doing that stuff because I got away from it, and that's kind of led me into wanting to start independent film work again after I ended the show.
Yeah.
So it was I mean we had an advisor. We had to have Well, we had an anthropologist on the show. He was an advisor, but we also had an early childhood advisor,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
and I think we fired three of them because
Oh, okay.
no, no lie, really, because they were just like, yeah, kids don't know about this. Kids need to
Yeah.
be sheltered from this. And
Protect the
and I had two
children.
kids. I know how smart they are. I know things I would like to expose them to, and I know things that I would not like to expose them to. And we were very sensitive to showing the good things around the world. Every country, well, we found every country has a dark history. Every single one
Yeah.
has a history of torture, has a history of slavery, has a history. It's you can get into some dark places with
Yeah.
doing a cultural show.
Mm-hmm.
So we were like, no, we want to celebrate. We want to celebrate the people. We want to celebrate the country. So we were very upbeat. So there was a lot of people who were saying, how can you say that about this country? They did this and this and this and this. And they said it about the US too, because obviously the US
Yeah.
has a dark history too.
Yeah.
But anyway, I divert. But where was I going with that? Yeah, So they really didn't give much intelligence to kids,
Mm.
and we would get into a lot of arguments was appropriate for kids, and it wasn't anything. There was no innuendo, and there's nothing like that. It was just subject matter that, and
Yeah.
so I really wanted to raise them up in the matter of intelligent, but it's funny too, and also our gags were a little. Sometimes they get a little edgy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we didn't get the show in the UK, so I don't really know much about Let's Go Luna.
I really liked it. I
I'll have
thought
to
we did a
check it
good
out.
job with it. Yeah.
Hmm. Definitely, yeah. Now at the top of the screen it says remaining meeting time 5 minutes 50 seconds. So I thought, Joe, maybe for the last 2 minutes we could talk about Fiego and the magic fish, maybe.
Yeah. So as soon as I
Maybe you'd
was
like to
done with
promote that. Yeah.
yeah, and I have another film I'm working on too. After Luna was over, I immediately started working on. So this film was I had started writing it a while ago,
Mm-hmm.
uh, after Rocco actually, and I kept wanting to do it, and I would start it and stop it, start it and stop it, and the new technology would come in, and I would change direction on it, and
Mm-hmm.
so after Fiego was done, I finally had all the technology to do it mostly myself, and so I did. I scrapped all the dialogue that I had recorded before, and I did this film, an 11-minute film, and I really liked how it turned out, and it was really fun to do. I was just in heaven, and so it was done last year. We hit the festival trail. We've hit so far 22 festivals internationally. We
Wow. That's very cool.
yeah. Um, and it just was released for streaming. Yeah,
Oh,
for you can
cool.
rent or buy it. If you
Mm-hmm.
go to www.gardenboxfilms.com,
Mm-hmm.
or you can go to www.fiegoandthemagicfish.com, you can actually buy it or rent it and see it.
Awesome.
Yeah, and my next film, I'm trying, it should be hopefully done by the end of the year. It's called Odin and the Egg. It's a kind of a Norse tale.
Mm-hmm.
I call it a Norse tale that's gone off the rails.
That is awesome. That is so,
Yeah.
so cool.
So
Wow.
I'm experimenting with some new styles and whatnot with it, and so it's taken a little longer,
Yeah.
but it's been really fun. I totally forgot how much I loved doing independent film. I did it before Rocco, and that's how I ended up getting into
It's great to
television.
get back to your roots.
Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, Joe, thank you so, 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 so much for coming on my show. It has been a huge pleasure to talk to you this
it
morning.
was fun. Yeah,
Thank you so much. Where can we find you on social media? Have you got anything you like to promote? Your website, your social media,
yeah. I'm
anywhere?
on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
on Instagram. I don't post a whole lot, but sometimes I do. LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn. Um, Real Joe Murray at on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm gonna probably up my films because my son is now my director.
Oh,
He's
cool.
my social
Awesome.
media director, and he is
Oh, I
pushing
see.
me to do more films.
Awesome.
So,
That's so cool. That is so awesome.
and Garden Box Films, and also joemurraystudio.com is also a place to go. That actually that site has a lot of Rocco stuff on it. My Garden Box Films does not.
Ah,
But
okay.
joemurraystudio.com has a lot of Rocco stuff and all
Mm-hmm.
the other films and such. It has clips and all sorts of stuff on it. So yeah,
Cool. Awesome. Well, in that case, thank you at home for watching this episode of In Conversation with ATF with the lovely Joe Murray. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did recording it and speaking very softly as well. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in a future video. Take care, everybody. Bye. And cut.